Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to thank Encanto Migrant Seasonal Head Start and their wonderful staff and children for hosting us this morning. Today, I am joined by Eric Harrison with United Way, Ventura County, Petra Pools with First Five, Ventura County, and Marcela Morales of Cause to talk about the historic relief that is being delivered to working families throughout Ventura County and the nation. On July 15th, monthly payments of up to $300 per child will begin hitting bank accounts and mailboxes as part of the expanded and improved child tax credit. For families struggling to make ends meet, these advanced tax refunds will be much needed relief after a year of so much economic uncertainty and unprecedented challenges. Back in March, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan, which was designed to help jolt the economy back to life. This once-in-a-generation investment included an expanded and improved child tax credit, among other provisions, and many American families are eligible for an advance payment on their 2021 tax refund of up to $3,600 per child, with monthly payments beginning July 15th and going to December 15th. This advanced direct assistance to families will help parents put food on the table, buy clothes or shoes for children as they return to school, help make rent or mortgage payments for the month, or pay all the other expenses that are outstanding. These tax credits will not only help families keep afloat, but they are a transformational investment to lift American families and millions of children out of poverty. One of the greatest roadblocks to a just society and an economy that works for everyone is the stain of child poverty in America. We know all too well that child poverty discriminates. It's far more prevalent among children of color. We also know that child poverty debilitates. Children who grow up in poverty typically have poor academic achievement, are more likely to end up in the justice system, have worsened long-term health outcomes, and lower lifetime earnings. Child poverty is also one of the greatest impediments to the economic success of women. Poverty among caretakers who are primarily women and primarily women of color leads to higher unemployment, to less pay for equal work, and poverty can be a severe roadblock to career advancement. Ending child poverty is a moral imperative, and it is an economic imperative. Ending child poverty will help increase educational attainment, lifetime earnings, allowing for a prosperous future for America's families and their children. In a nation as wealthy as ours, there is absolutely no excuse for children to go hungry or for families to be homeless. For these reasons, President Biden has proposed bold action to lift Americans out of poverty, and it starts with the expanded and improved child tax credit, which is now fully refundable and has been increased from $2,000 in 2020 to $3,600 in 2021 for children under 6 and to $3,000 for children aged 6 through 16. An estimated 39 million American families are eligible for the expanded child tax credit, including over 39,000 households in California's 26th congressional district. That equates to 145,000 children. Over 80% of kids in California's 26th congressional district benefit from this credit. The child tax credit is an investment in our human infrastructure, and it is an investment in our future. In addition to this tax credit, President Biden is also making good on his promise of getting shots in people's arms, getting children back to school, putting people back to work, and putting money in working families' pockets. In fact, for 2021, a family of 5 could be eligible for up to $20,000 in pandemic relief if you total the last 2 stimulus checks and the expanded child tax credit for 3 children under 6. And that is on top of other tax credits families may qualify for, like the Child and Dependent Care Credit or the Earned Income Tax Credit. So how can your family get this money? That is why I am here today. If you filed your 2020 tax return this year, or filed your 2019 tax return last year, or if you signed up to receive a stimulus check from the IRS, you will automatically receive the tax credit. You do not need to register or take any action. Families who received their refunds from the IRS through direct deposit will receive these payments into their bank accounts around the 15th of each month until the end of 2021. Like the earlier stimulus checks, and there are two, they total up to $2,000 in total, families not using direct deposit will receive their payment in the mail at approximately the same time. Beginning on Thursday, qualifying families can receive up to $300 per month per child for children under 6 and up to $250 per month per child for children 16 and under. When families file their 2021 tax return, the remaining credit will be calculated as part of their refund. Families who have not filed a tax return for 2019 or 2020 should know that it's not too late to receive these tax credits. All you need to do is register, and register now. It is also not too late to claim your 2 stimulus checks. Again, 2 stimulus checks added together is $2,000 in people's pockets. And so if you haven't registered, register now. To sign up, visit the IRS website at www.irs.gov or the Child Tax Credit portal at www.childtaxcredit.gov for more information. If you or someone you know needs help with the IRS, you can also call my office at 805-379-1779. My office stands ready to help. It has been said that Social Security is one of the greatest achievements of American government. It has kept seniors from poverty and ensured a secure economic future for working Americans. I see the expanded child tax credit as Social Security for our children. Going forward, I am working with President Biden and my colleagues in Congress to make the American Rescue Plan tax credits permanent law. Doing so will ensure that working families can keep more of their hard-earned money and will lift millions of families and children out of poverty. This is an investment in our children, our working families, and our economic future. So with that, I would now like to introduce Eric Harrison, President and CEO of the United Way Ventura County. Eric?
Thank you, Congresswoman Brownley, and we just want to say how appreciative we are of your leadership and support and being our champion in Washington and really championing the underserved here locally in Ventura County. It's a privilege to work with your office. Since 1945, United Way of Ventura County has supported low-income individuals and families. And since 2005, United Way of Ventura County has provided the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. This tax assistance program has really been a lifesaver to Ventura County residents, providing millions of funds back into the pockets of working families. Individuals or families that have earned up to $57,000 a year annually can file for free with United Way volunteers, and I do want to acknowledge the volunteers who have worked tirelessly throughout the longevity of this program to really provide these services for free to local residents here in Ventura County. And yet, we find that 1 out of 5 who qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit do not take advantage of it. So it's really important that we work together as a community to provide outreach so low-income families and individuals know of the Earned Income Tax Credit as well as the Child Tax Credit. Everyone should have the ability to provide for and care for their families, and the expansion of the Child Tax Credit will help all families succeed, from working families struggling with basic needs like food and rent and bills that they've experienced throughout COVID, to middle-class families that need help with child care and college savings. And that helps Main Street business, and it also helps the whole community thrive in Ventura County. In tax year 2020, the child tax credit, with our assistance with our volunteers through the VITA program, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, have helped 127 households here in Ventura County receive the child tax credit, with $158,000 going back into their homes. And an additional 98 received $171,000 for the tax credit. And so we are very grateful to the Biden administration for expanding this tax credit. We stand with Congresswoman Brownley's office to advocate for the permanence of this tax credit, and we thank you all for your support today.
Thank you, Eric. And now we have Petra Poles, the Executive Director of First Five Ventura County. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Petra Poles, Executive Director at First Five in Ventura County. We're the local agency that is responsible for administering Proposition 10 tobacco tax and investing those resources into children prenatal to 5 and their families. I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for your wonderful comments and for your leadership. We so appreciate it. I had goosebumps listening to you. You just really understand the importance of supporting kids and families in our county and in our nation, really. I'm really here to talk a little bit about how the pandemic impacted especially young children, and how we at First Five responded, and why we feel that this is such an important step in the right direction, having this child tax credit and hopefully making it permanent in the future. The pandemic has been devastating for our children and their families, and has brought to the forefront the huge disparities that exist in our communities. We all know that people of color and those with the fewest resources have been the most impacted by the pandemic, facing extreme economic insecurities. We learned that about 42% of households are worried still today about paying for at least one basic needs, like housing, food, rent, utilities. In those households, 52% of children within families with financial hardship are facing emotional distress. We're talking about our youngest, our 0 to 5-year-olds. They're really impacted by what families are going through as part of this pandemic. And what we know is that those prolonged community stresses are called an adverse childhood experience, which has long-term negative impact on health and social development of our kids. So what did we do at First Five, recognizing and knowing all that? We immediately jumped into action and transitioned our programs and our parent support groups and our parent education and parent and child together groups to virtual service delivery about 1.5 years ago now, to continue providing support to our most vulnerable populations. But we also answered basic questions about just COVID in general, and where do you go when you need help, when you lost your job as a result of that. We also focused on childcare. Childcare was a top priority for us over the last 1.5 years. Stabilizing the childcare industry as much as possible is something that we worked on together with our partners, the Child Development Resources and the Ventura County Office of Education. And when you look at this beautiful program here, this was one of the few programs that stayed open during the entire pandemic crisis, providing childcare for our essential workers who are mostly in the ag industry, providing food for our tables. We had a childcare crisis before COVID. About 3/4 of married couples with children are engaged in the workforce. Both of them, parents, are engaged in the workforce. And most of single family head of households are also, with kids, are also in the workforce. And we only had about licensed childcare for 30% of those kids that needed care. But what happened during the pandemic was really startling and very concerning. We lost permanently in Ventura County almost 800 childcare spaces in a matter of 6 months. Families had nowhere to go. And what we learned is that women were disproportionately affected by having to quit their jobs and stay home to take care of their children. So what did we do? We knew that those providers were already working at very thin margins. We supported them by providing technical assistance to apply for the county business grants, and as a result, over $600,000 went into the pockets of childcare providers in the form of the small business assistance programs. We've also distributed literally hundreds of thousands of diapers and wipes and gloves and sanitizing products to make sure that those providers have what they need to keep their doors open. But as the economy opens back up, we continue to be very concerned about whether we will have sufficient childcare capacity to meet the needs and the demands of parents who are now ready to go back to work. And so what we do is we continue to advocate locally and at the state level to make sure providers are not forgotten, because we know that childcare not only keeps the parents in the workforce and supports them, but it also helps children to be prepared to enter school ready to learn. What we know is that 90% of a child's brain is developed by age 5. That's why a high quality program like this is so important. It not only keeps the families in the workforce, it makes sure that children get what they need to be ready for school. What we know is that growing up in poverty, as Congresswoman said so eloquently, can have very detrimental effects, negative effects on those on the brain development. And the investments in the first 5 years yields higher returns than in any later period in life. The expanded child tax credit enables us to commit to the success of children by investing in them as early as possible and addressing the economic, racial, and health disparities made worse by the pandemic. We're thrilled to see this expanded child tax credit and how it helps lift so many of our youngest and most vulnerable residents out of poverty. Strong families and a bolstered economy mean strengthened communities in which infant toddlers can learn, grow, and thrive, and it benefits all of us. Thank you, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Petra. Thank you very, very much. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to ask Maricela Morales, Executive Director of Cause and a long-term friend, to speak.
Good morning, everyone. There's been so few things to celebrate about in the last year and a half, and this is one of those times where we really should celebrate, because as has been said before, people are suffering, and it's not only those that have lost family members, it's about the quality of life of those who have survived, right? And this speaks to that it's not enough only to save lives. It's necessary to ensure that we're all thriving. And this is going to make it possible for more working families, for children, to be able to thrive. So at Cause, we're celebrating 20 years this year of doing base building, working with immigrants, with working class youth and adults. And we're a different kind of frontline worker. Our organizers, since the pandemic hit, right? We're on the front lines of hearing their stories, but then turning those stories of desperation into stories of empowerment. Because these very same people, including our youth, we're still going to city council, we're still going to school board meetings online to share from the direct experience and to continue to advance justice, especially in times of crisis. And so working with the community, we help to get rent moratoriums. We help to get more school counselors into the school districts, because as was said, youth who are having to become their younger siblings' childcare provider, right? During the pandemic and the impacts that stress had on them. So this expanded child tax credit will make it possible for people to stay in their homes. We're still working on rent stabilization, because even with the rent moratorium, rents have continued to go up. So the time is now. This is important for today and, as was said, for the future, because today will allow these children to flourish so that we can have a vital economy and a beautiful community into the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Maricela. Thank you so much. So I don't know, KCLU, if you have any questions or not. I know one of the impacts of pandemic has been on our press, our local press here, where You know, folks have been laid off and so forth, and it's important. These messages, I feel, are so important to get out of the community, because at the end of the day, knowing how much money is available to working families here in Ventura County, if we left a nickel on the table, it upsets me, because I know people are in such, you know, in such desperate need. So I'm trying every avenue possible that I can to you know, to get this message out. Pardon me? Okay, terrific. Well, thank everybody for being here, and you know, I will just say one more time, because we're going to use this in social media to get the information out, is you know, the websites for information on these benefits are www.irs.gov and www.childtaxcredit.gov, and my office number is 805-379-1779. And again, you know, this expanded child tax credit will lift half the children in our country out of poverty. That's why it needs to be permanent. That's why we're continuing to work in Congress to provide child care to working families, to provide access to universal preschool, to provide elder care, to provide paid family leave, all of these issues to help support working families. And as was said earlier, you know, this pandemic hit women very, very, very hard. And the only way we will have a successful economic recovery is to get those women back into the workforce. And so they need the support. They need the money in their pockets. They need child care. They need, women get sandwiched between child care and elder care. They need paid family leave. They need these support systems to be able to go back to work, earn a good living, be prosperous, and be able to enjoy the American life and the American dream. So this is what this is really all about, and I thank everybody for being here.